But that would be your answer, not mine. The question before us, the question that only you or I can answer ourselves is, what does it mean for you, for me, to be a disciple of Christ? For we are called to be Christ's disciples in a world filled for many with joy and blessings. But for many, a world torn by grief, war, genocide, hate, prejudice, starvation. A world where we are touched by illness, by death, by addictions, by mental illness, by poverty, loneliness, and the list goes on and on. We return to the question, in this world, our world, what does it mean for you, for me, to be a disciple of Christ? Now, a part of me would like to stop right there, and a part of me would like me to. That was bad news. Part of me would like to stop right there and let the question stand in your hearts, in your minds, in your soul. What does it mean for you to be a disciple of Christ? If we were to share answers to this question, if we were to listen closely to our own hearts and our own minds and our own souls, and if we were to listen closely to others, we would discover that we have many views in common, and at the same time, views and perspectives that are different. And this is as it should be. That question, what does it mean to be a disciple of Christ, is a question that only you or I can answer for ourselves. Now, since I can't answer for you, and since I can't tell you what to believe, well, I could, but I shouldn't, I will share one thing, well, what it means for me to be a disciple of Christ. And I invite you only to listen very partially to what I say, and to let God into your presence and listen. Listen to God speak to you of what it means for you to be a disciple of Christ. Here's my sharing. In Micah 6:8, we read these words. What does the Lord require of you? But to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your Lord. Part 1. In a world such as ours, justice is important. For us to live a just life, and beyond that, as followers of Christ, this is what I believe, I need to be aware of the importance and respond to justice for victims of residential schools, justice for the disenfranchised and the poor, the suffering and the hungry, justice for those whose families are torn apart by war. And the list goes on and on. Now, as a disciple of Christ, I personally, because I'm here in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan in the middle of winter, cannot do very much physically for those in Syria or Sudan or elsewhere who suffer injustice. But you know what? I can, as a disciple of Christ, offer financial support to organizations who seek to care and who seek to do justice, like Canadian Lutheran World Relief, like the Red Cross, the Salvation Army. As a disciple of Christ, I can support organizations that advocate for justice in Canada, Saskatchewan, in Saskatoon, and elsewhere in the world. And I can do my best as a child of God and as a disciple of Christ to live a just and moral life. Part 2. I can love kindness. I can do my best, which, although I like to think it is perfect, really never is perfect. I can do my best, which is never perfect, to be a person of grace. And I can seek and accept God's forgiveness when I fail. And I can walk humbly in the presence of the Holy Spirit. And when I stray, when I lose sight of God in the midst of all the activities of my life, I know that God is present even then. I can return to His presence. What does it mean to you to be a disciple of Christ, a child of God, a person of grace? What does it mean?